When it comes to medical device reprocessing, the cleaning phase is everything. Before sterilization can even begin, instruments must be thoroughly cleaned, and that process depends heavily on the chemistry and the expertise behind the detergents being used. So, what kinds of detergents are used in medical device reprocessing? What design features make them effective? And where do enzymes fit into the picture? In today's conversation, we're taking a closer look at the science behind MDR detergents, exploring how they're formulated, why enzymes are often included, and what advantages enzymatic detergents can offer in breaking down complex soils. If you work in sterile processing, infection prevention, or healthcare environmental services, this is a discussion you won't want to miss. And before we get started, don't forget this is a series of episodes. I'll put the links to the previous ones in the show notes below. So it's my pleasure to welcome to our program John Howell, Brandon Beyer, and John Harp, three experts who know this topic inside and out. Gentlemen, it's good to have you here. All right, so let's get right to our topic. And I think our first question's for John Howell. John, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Talk about this. What kinds of detergents are used in the cleaning phase of MDR? And be sure to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I'm John Howell. I'm Global Business Development with Novonesis. So when we think of detergents in medical, there are really two types. There are enzymatic and non-enzymatic. Enzymatics usually have a pH of around 7 to 9 and are typically a combination of surfactants and enzymes to work in synergy to remove soils off of a surface. On the other side, you have the non-enzymatics, which can be further divided into two categories. You have the neutral non-enzymatics, and you have alkaline. Neutral non-enzymatics are typically just like enzymatics. They're surfactant-based, yet they contain no enzymes, and their pH is maybe around 6 to 8, where they really focus on the use of surfactants to help remove individual soils. And on the other side, you have alkaline detergents, which is a combination of surfactants and very high pH. In combination, that high pH is used to help remove clinical soils from surfaces as well. So they all kind of have a similar intent, but they go out at it about different ways.
And the science behind it is interesting, intriguing, and important. But Brandon, let's go to you. Brandon Beyer, introduce yourself and tell us what you think about this question about the detergents used in the MDR cleaning process.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so Brandon Beyer, I'm a North American Technical Manager with Univar Solutions in the ingredients and specialty space. It's funny, like listening to John talk about this. I actually break it not into enzymatic and non-enzymatic. If you've watched the previous two episodes, you know I'm a disciple of the cleaning wheel: time, temperature, mechanical action, chemistry with water at the core. So I initially started thinking about mechanical action. So when I think of what types of detergents, it's the automatic ones and the manual. Because in enzymatic, in the medical device reprocessing space, there are some things that are done automatically in like a washer disinfector, which is just a fancy way of using like an automatic dishwasher, like we would at home, with some advancements for the space, or literally cleaning in a sink where you have to use some sweat equity to clean it up. So what John said is absolutely correct, right? So the neutral detergents are very much like a manual dish soap, akin to, say, Dawn. There's some nuances that go into medical device reprocessing, like whereas at home, you really want a lot of foam. Foam is a good thing. People love foam. Foam is not such a great thing when you're doing medical device reprocessing and scrubbing, right? Because you want to see that these devices and these pieces of equipment are actually clean, and any foam obscures the vision. So I agree with John. Once you get past mechanical versus automatic, then there's a few more nuances. Is it a pre-treater, manual cleaner, an ultrasonic cleaner, which we might talk about, the washer disinfector? And then there's some spaces that are really interesting in medical device reprocessing, particularly to say like endoscopes, where there's a bedside pre-treatment. Again, right away, it gets the chemistry acting immediately, and then a manual cleaning process. At the core, you're right, the chemistry is the same. Polymers, surfactants, chelants, alkali. And if you really want to get a lot done, enzymes, because again, that particular component, the enzymatic component, when it can be used, these are ingredients that are purpose-built by nature to really break down the specific biological soils that come in medical device.
Brandon, thank you for that. And John, back to you for our second question. What are some critical design features of MDR detergents? Can you talk about that?
Well, interestingly enough, there's not a lot of guidance out there for medical detergent manufacturers. So they have either had to rely on kind of their historical build, their historical knowledge, kind of networking and stuff like that. Nice enough to know that ASTM actually a few years ago developed D8179. This is a guidance tool to give to manufacturers to say what are the key things you need to look at when developing a detergent, and just to cover a few of those things, just as guidance. And they also talk about how to test for those things. Some of them are easy, some of them might be more analytical, but they look at things like clear and uniform. A lot of manufacturers will put their products into clear, transparent bottles. And so it's really important to see a very clear and uniform product, no hazing, no precipitation, no separation. Even if those things occur, a detergent can still be very effective, but it's seen as a quality issue. So it's very critical that they have a clear and uniform. They also need to be easily dispersed into water, right? They have to be soluble, dispersed into water. There are some products, not necessarily in medical, that will actually form a gel when it hits water. They don't have time for that. They need it to go in, disperse, and immediately start the cleaning process. Time is everything in these reprocessing departments. It's also got to be highly rinsable, right? It's got to be something that there can't be any residue left behind. It's critical in this area where everything, all the chemistry, all the contaminants, everything is rinsed away. And it's really important that the chemistry is not left behind. I think Brandon also touched on it very nicely. Foaming is very key. He talked about being able to see what's below the surface. Also, low foaming can have an impact as ideal and beneficial for washer disinfectors, automated systems. If you create a lot of foam in those systems, like your dishwasher at home, it'll shut down, cause an error, and will lead to either having to redo things or processing errors or cleaning errors. And I think one of the most important things is performance. At the end of the day, these things have to clean and do what they're stated to do, whether they're cleaning kind of orthopedic soils or from colonoscopies or any kind of endoscopy. It's really important that these are developed and designed to clean those reusable medical devices efficiently.
Good information. And John Harp, it's time to wake up. You ready for your questions?
Here we go. I'm ready, Jeff.
All
Yep.
right. So more on enzymes. What are enzymes and why are they used and how prevalent are they in MDR detergents? Dig into that for us.
So I'm John Harp, in technical service. And so in essence, enzymes, as we've talked about previously, and as Brandon just mentioned, that enzymes are found in all living organisms. They provide a critical role for those living organisms. And essentially, to try and keep this as simple as possible, enzymes are essentially a string of amino acids that are folded in a very particular way. And it's this folding of that gives rise to the enzyme that is what is beneficial. It is when it's folded, it provides what is called an active site. And it's in this active site where a chemical reaction can happen that then changes the substrate from one form into another. But the beautiful thing is that the enzyme itself is not consumed. So it can continue to work on these particular target soils. And as it relates to medical device reprocessing, the soils that we're talking about that these enzymes can specifically target, depending on the type of enzyme, are soils like in blood and tissues, fats, starches, and other complex organic soils that are found on these reusable devices. And so by targeting these soils with particular enzymes that are nature designed to go after these soils, we can then get effective disinfection and sterilization. Because if we don't clean that surface as well as possible, and enzymes are a powerful tool to do that, we then cannot effectively disinfect or sterilize. That's a question like, why are they used? And it's because they are so specific. They are safe to handle. John and Brandon both mentioned the types of cleaners that can exist. And when we refer to alkaline detergents, there's also extra precautions that may be necessary in order to work with an alkaline detergent that aren't necessary for an enzymatic detergent. And the beautiful thing, again, is that enzymes can work synergistically with surfactants to then enhance the cleaning of that surface for subsequent disinfection and sterilization. And they can also then be used in a number of different types of cleaning situations, whether it's a manual soak or a an automated process that requires sensitive steps. And the ultimate goal is that it's minimizing the equipment wear. So it's making sure that you can get a clean instrument, a clean medical device without impacting the integrity of that instrument.
A lot of great benefits to using what you described, these enzymes and their characteristics. Anything else to add as far as more advantages, why people should really look at this as a solution?
I would say, I mean, they're becoming more and more prevalent. We're seeing that there's quite a bit of advantage to using enzymes in this more natural state, more biosolution oriented. We're thinking about greener practices that we can use in our cleaning departments. And so enzymes are a good solution for that. And they are becoming a standard in medical device reprocessing. And that's why we're seeing more and more products come out with enzymes as a sort of go-to cleaning solution.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a great discussion. Let's have final thoughts, closing remarks from each of you, something that you'd like to share with our audience today. And John Howell, let's start with you on that.
Well, I mentioned a lot about medical detergents, the different types. Brandon and I covered some of the characteristics and what have you. But I think the other key thing to really let people know is that detergent manufacturers do a lot of work to develop their instructions for use, or IFUs. It is always important and critical to follow their IFUs to make sure that you're using their detergent in the right system, to make sure they're using it to clean the right equipment. Not all detergents, especially alkaline, can be used to clean endoscopes, right? They're damaging. Endoscopes are very expensive, delicate instruments, and you don't want to damage them. So it's always important that detergent manufacturers spend a lot of time on their IFUs. It's always important that you follow them and understand them.
And so, one thing I just want to close on is the notion that there are a number of different types of enzymes out there that have their different targets. And so, for instance, we see common enzymes like proteases and amylases. We see lipases starting to emerge. And then we see a new technology called the nuclease, which goes after extracellular DNA, which can be problematic for medical devices. And so as these new solutions are emerging, enzymes are not just enzymes. So a protease is not just a protease. They go after proteins, but the way that they're engineered and how efficacious they can be, how stable they can be, there's a lot of engineering that goes into making sure that these critical tools are performing as well as they possibly can. And so, again, enzymes are an amazing solution. You just have to work with them in your formulation in the right way. And that's what's exciting for this industry, to get the best possible clean that we can. Because there should be only one standard of clean, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, my last thought in this is any place in the cleaning industry, like medical device reprocessing, consumer, industrial, name it. The two key parameters are performance, which we've hinted on here. It's really critical, and cost. And cost as it relates to enzymes is when you're making you're reformulating, you want everything in there to do something. And there's nothing that gives you more bang for your buck than an enzymatic solution. So you do need the surfactants, chelants, polymers, whatnot. But as John Hart mentioned, enzymes are at their core, they're catalyst. So in theory, one protease, if it did not denature, could go through and catalyze an unlimited number of, protein cleaves so you just need one protease, a bunch of water and time, and you could clean a protein soil. Now in practice, we obviously add more to speed things up because, as John Howell said, time is of the essence. I just can't emphasize enough that you get a lot of bang for your buck out of enzymes, medical device reprocessing, and any time they show up. So it's part of that cost performance analysis, and they should always be part of that solution for you.